We're approaching the new year, and I want to share my top 10 favorite things I've bought this year as a cat parent to these two lovely fluff balls. It's impossible to rank them from 1 to 10 because they're all really different items. So, in no particular order, let's start with the Pidan Signature Tofu Blend Cat Litter. This was my most repurchased litter this year. At least one of my litter boxes is always filled with it. It's a clumping litter that's a blend of tofu and bentonite clay, and I think it's one of the best litters I've tried for odor control. It forms easy to scoop clumps and really isn't dusty until around maybe the 3-month mark when it starts to break down into smaller pieces. The tofu bits are large enough size that it doesn't track quite as much as traditional clay, corn, grass, and crystal litters, and it doesn't cling to my cat's belly fur like a lot of other litters do with them. It does have a slight, almost vanilla-like scent to it from the soybean dregs it's made of, but it's not overpowering and it doesn't seem to bother George and Eleanor. They take to it without issue. I usually have to top off my box monthly, and then I totally switch it all out every 3 months because that's when it starts to get a little dusty and a little smelly. I've tried 3 different Pidan litters, and this blend one is my favorite, but if you're looking for all natural, the straight tofu litter is good too. It's just a little more expensive. So this one is kind of cheating because I didn't buy it. It was sent to me for a project I worked on. But the Bissell Little Green Hydrosteam is easily one of the best things I got this year. It's like an upgrade to the OG Little Green machine, which I've relied on for years to keep my carpet and upholstery clean. Really, the only reason my carpet has managed to stay white and odor-free with all of George and Eleanor's hairballs and vomiting is because of these portable Bissell wet vacuums. Although I love the original Little Green machine, the Little Green Hydrosteam has a bigger brush head to make cleaning easier and quicker. It has the steam option, which has been so nice for my upholstery. It's easier to clean out once it gets icky and full of gross water, and it's quieter, which of course is a good thing for George and Eleanor, who are scared of vacuums. This is pretty much my holy grail cleaning product. Next, we have the Petivity Smart Litter Box Monitor from Purina. This little monitor is so cool. It's compatible with pretty much all litter boxes as long as it's not an automatic box, and it tracks all of your cat's litter box activity and their weight. It uses AI to learn their habits, and it alerts you to any changes in them, like if they're visiting their box without actually using it, if they're gaining or losing weight too rapidly. Signs of illness in cats are so subtle, and this is just one tool I'm grateful to have in my arsenal to care for George and Eleanor. I find it especially helpful because it's able to distinguish between the two cats, even though they weigh almost the same amount. So before, I could never be sure who was peeing in the litter box, who hadn't pooped in 2 days, and so on, but now I know. It's most effective when every litter box has one so that all activity is tracked, so I bought one for each of our litter boxes. The data it's given me for our vet visits in general has been great, but it has really come in clutch when my cats have been sick, like when George had that really bad diarrhea this year. Being able to track everything and share data with our vet was so helpful in getting him the treatment he needed. Sticking to the healthcare category, next up is pet insurance. I cannot overstate how important pet insurance is. Every time I wound up at the vet in 2024, I was so grateful to have it. Different pet insurance companies have different policies. Some cover preventative care, some cover dental procedures, but for us, the most important thing has been getting coverage for accidents and illnesses. It's amazing how expensive vet care can get, and knowing I'll get reimbursed means I'm able to say yes to all the appropriate tests and treatments my cats need. It even covers things like calling the poison control center that one time Eleanor got sick after eating a plant. The reimbursements I've received over the years have already paid for all the monthly premiums at this point. So if your cat doesn't have many pre-existing conditions or illnesses, I highly recommend looking into a few insurance options for 2025. Number 5, we have replacement scratching post sections for our cat wall from Catastrophic Creations. My cat wall is one of my favorite things I've ever bought for George and Eleanor. They spend so much time on it, climbing, playing, sleeping, scratching. It takes up less space than a cat tree, and I think it looks nicer. One of the great things about this cat wall brand is that you can purchase individual replacement pieces if they've experienced wear and tear. So after 2 years, our scratching posts were getting a little worn down, and although they were fine to use, the cat wall is such a focal spot in our home that I wanted nice, fresh ones. I'm really happy I was able to swap out a few pieces rather than having to buy all new cat furniture. And now I just wish I had more wall space to expand upon our cat jungle gym here because it's so cool and so good for both George and Eleanor's physical and mental well-being. Next up are these stands for cat food bowls from CatGuru. Elevated bowls can help with comfort, digestion, decrease regurgitation, which is an issue for Eleanor. I already have really cute elevated bowls, but they're a pain to wash in between each meal, and we feed so many meals a day, and they just take up too much space for me to have a bunch to rotate through. So I ended up getting these stands this year that are compatible with different types of cat bowls, but I actually use them with little $1.50 ceramic appetizer plates. And I bought a ton of plates, and it has just made cleaning up less of a hassle for me. I can just pop in, my 16 plates in the dishwasher instead of having to individually wash bowls in between our 3 meals of the day. Eleanor is prone to chin acne, so it's really important she has a nice clean bowl for every meal, and this has just made it easier on me. Moving on, RompiCatz is one of our favorite toy brands, and in 2024 we added these 2 wand attachment toys to our collection, and they've become absolute favorites of George. If you've joined our live streams, you know that sometimes it's hard to get my cats to engage in play, and George is especially fussy with toys. He tends to like wand toys that look like critters and creatures rather than feathers or ribbons. So this little flexible mouse toy and this little butterfly looking toy are so exciting for George. The materials mimic real critters George would actually want to catch, and they make interesting sounds that get him engaged in playtime. At this point, we have at least 10 different RompiCatz attachments, but these were our 2 favorites we got this year. Honorable mention goes to the Bugs Bird attachment from RompiCatz, but that one's just a little more expensive than these 2. Speaking of play, number 8 on our list is this pop-up cube tent we got from PetSmart. I swore up and down I was never going to be the cat parent that had a bunch of big toys and tunnels cluttering up my living room, but I caved, and I'm so glad I did. George and Eleanor love it. I mentioned how hard it can be to engage them in interactive play, and this pop-up cube has helped tremendously. It gives the cats a place to hide from their prey, to pop out and surprise it, and it does fold up, so it's easy to put away and hide if you're trying to keep a tidy space, but I just leave it out all the time now. Next on our list is one of our most purchased foods this year. It should come as no surprise that it's the Fancy Feast Classic Pate in the beef and chicken flavor. I share our monthly food rotations here, and Fancy Feast is a frequently seen food mostly because it's so budget friendly, but also because it has a good amount of protein and it's low in carbs. Of course, I love being able to feed George and Eleanor super high quality, top of the line food when I can, but since I feed an all wet food diet, that's just not possible with my budget. So Fancy Feast ends up being such a good compromise because it's species appropriate and has ingredients I like, but it's affordable. And this specific flavor is one of our go-tos because it doesn't have fish, and George and Eleanor love it. Last on our list of top 10 cat purchases of 2024 is our cat backpack. I already had one from when George and Eleanor were kittens, but now that they're big floofs, I bought the exact same one again this year so they can each have their own. I just find backpacks to be more comfortable to carry when I have to walk around the city with George and Eleanor for their various appointments and adventures. I love this backpack because it can hold up to 25 pounds of cat, which is ideal for us because as ragdolls, George and Eleanor are big kitties. The frame is sturdy, the mesh is durable, it has leads to attach a harness to, plenty of pockets for my stuff as well as for treats and supplies for the cats. All of the zippers snap closed for extra security, and it can be positioned on its side and carried like a traditional carrier with this add-on strap. One thing I want to say is if you're thinking about getting a backpack, just make sure it isn't one of those with the plastic windows. Those can overheat and don't have enough ventilation for a cat. But I love this backpack because there's plenty of ventilation through the mesh, and I think it looks really nice. It doesn't look dorky. And that's the full roundup. I hope you have a great rest of the year, and we look forward to seeing you in 2025.